Today, I want to talk about finding your voice. And this is a subject that is really important to me, and I feel it is very important to developing artists. I learned it a long time ago from another teacher, and since then I've taught it to just about anyone who would listen to me. I teach at Bellevue College here in Washington, and even though this is not on the syllabus for each one of those photography courses, I force it down the student's throat. Okay, I think it is essential. Okay, finding your voice, or the process of finding your voice, traditionally takes many years, 5 years, 10 years of, first you copy other people's work, then you subtly change, and then you try this and you try that, and eventually you find something you like and you try to focus on that a little more, and until you have your work nailed down to a perfect little square that everyone will recognize as being one of your pieces. But there's a way to hack that process to get in and be more intentional about what you're doing, and really uh, hammering down and figuring out who you are right now. Okay, and that process of being who you are will change over time, and your artwork will change with it. But you'll be consistently creating who you are if you go through these steps and you put the effort into finding your voice. Okay, so finding your voice. This is a process of figuring out your unique style, and then becoming consistent at creating that one thing that is you. And it's really simple. So I wanted to give it that introduction to kind of add some weight to what I'm about to show you. But like all great things, it's really simple, and it's just really a few steps that you need to accomplish in order to make this work. Okay. So what you need to do is you need to gather your inspiration, then you have to define your inspiration, and then you have to only create within your defined boundaries. All right. So what does that look like? Um, Curating your inspiration. Okay, so I have I use Pinterest like everyone nowadays, and well, we're going to talk about my nudes, by the way. Like over here, you see my landscapes, but I've been a landscape photographer for a while. I've kind of focused on this, and this is how I make a living. And there's this feeling that I've always wanted to create, and it's these nude pieces, and where are they over here? So I eventually I wanted to figure out what it is I want to shoot and how I want to shoot it, and then um, and I want to focus and develop this part of who I am. So this whole process is as relevant to me as it is to many of you, and in truth, it's a process of discovery, and it should always and will always be relevant to you if your mind is open to it. So gather your inspiration. Okay, here we have Pinterest, and this is my board for art nude inspiration. And right now it's got 40 or 50 pins in it, 49. And um, what I did is I printed all these out. So I printed all them out. It took forever, and I ended up with all these pieces. And I cleared my desk and focused only on the pieces of art that I love. And what I did from there is, with each piece, I examined it, and then you're going to flip it over, and you're going to write down what you love and what inspires you about this piece of artwork. Okay? What you love and what inspires you. And you're going to go through this process of defining the characteristics of all the images that you've collected over the last few weeks. Okay? And I'm talking like 50, 100, if you're really ambitious, 125 images, and and really focusing on what it is about this type of work that inspires you. And for me, this one, this curve of the back is a very strong, like a bent bow. The pictures are anonymous. All my nudes are anonymous. The hair is up and out of the way, and there's a really strong texture. Okay, on this one, I really love the lighting, the big lighting, and the deep shadows. It keeps the model anonymous, and this is a painting, of course, but the lighting principles are still the same for a realistic painting. And she's strong and flexible. And then here's another one. You know, I wrote down that I really love the subdued purple, blue, white color palette. And all these colors, they're in one family. They're not all over the place. The furniture, the drapes, is kind of a antiquitized, classical piece. And I wrote all that on the back. So over and over, you know, here's another anonymous female nude. And what I did was, after I was all done with this portion, I went through and I recorded all of that information. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your curated collection of inspiration and you're going to define it using, you know, some of these key ideas, and you know, you can add to this or detract from it or whatever you want, but the point is that you do it. So you know, the shape of the light, you know, the colors that call out to you in all these images, the space and the composition, I kind of put those two in there because they fit together for me. For instance, it's all center weighted. This is a center weighted image. A lot of them are. However, you know, I really wanted to note the amount of negative space that's in there, that's in these images, and that sort of thing really calls out to me. So I kind of fixed those together. And then you can see these details that I transferred from the back of my pictures onto this spreadsheet. Okay, so I have my inspiration, I defined my inspiration, and now I have created boundaries. And I am going to work in these boundaries for my nudes from now on. Okay, and this is a process I started some time ago. So let's see how I've done so far. Just show you kind of the work in progress. Here we'll go here. So these are my two newest ones. These are a little bit older, but this is you know, center weighted, big light source, anonymous. Same with this one, also with the texture that I mentioned earlier. These are my two newest ones. This one called Aria. You know, I noted the color palettes that I like, the strong contrast in colors, the anonymity, and with painting, there's a bit of abstraction. So, you know, I took that and I added it to my pictures, along with the texture. Okay, so this is how I arrived here, and this is how I will continue to create only in this vein. When I'm planning my next photo, when I'm planning my next art piece, and I start putting together my elements, and I can always come back to this and see if what I'm creating is really going to fit in my portfolio. This process will take some time. If you start today, you will take several weeks to gather these pieces of art, of inspiration, and you'll put them together into a place, you know, either a folder on your computer, or, you know, if you're a physical person, then you'll have them printed and in a file somewhere, or both. You start with Pinterest and you print it, and then in time, when you feel that you have enough, you'll do the next step, which is to define what inspires you about each picture. Now, the number of pictures is important that you have. You know, if you only take 12 images or a dozen or 2 dozen, you're not gonna find enough of your boundaries. So really aim for more than 50 pieces, right? And then keep this with you. This is a living document, and it is something that you can always come back to, and eventually you can just internalize this process and continue with your own mental cues to keep creating your work. And you know, I'll upload this in both Excel and Pages to this unit, and it has some of these keywords in here, and it's really simple. You can make this yourself, but there it is. It's done already. Just delete all the content, and it's yours. So take another look at the notes real quick. So this is the key to consistency. This is the key to answering that question: is my work good enough? When your work says speaks to you, it speaks to who you are, then you won't have to wonder if this is good enough, because this is what you feel like you should create. This is what you mean to create, and you've worked and you've strived and you've created something that is unique. And so that'll answer that question. That'll put you on your own, you know, stone, your own block in the Hall of Artists. That one will just say Jason Matias on it, and it'll be definable. Okay, and you won't have to stress over some of those things. You just need to keep creating. Okay. Um, okay. Well, you have it. That was simple. Okay, it's just an exercise. It's easy to do. It's also easy not to do. So get out there and do it. I think I would love to see or hear your experiences while you're doing this process. You can share with me your Pinterest boards, and I'm just JC Matias. If you look it up, you can't miss it. I have plenty of SEO out there to make me show up. So look up Jason Matias, add me to your boards. I'd love to see how you're putting things together, and yeah, and go from there. Okay. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your artistic journey, and we grow together. That's why I teach, because we grow together. I learned something today while I did this project. I meant to share that with you. So, like I said, this is new for me. This process of discovery, putting it down on paper for the nudes. And one thing that I really discovered while doing this is this idea of unrevealing nudity. Okay, I've approached people and told them about this project or these artworks, and I'm like, yeah, I take nude photos. And then they look at me like I'm, guy taking the pictures of his wife while she's in the shower or something. But no, that's not what I'm doing. I mean, my pictures don't actually show nudity, but they are nude. So I came up with this term while I was writing the stuff down, unrevealing nudity. And that, having that idea in my head, that concept, that umbrella for this whole portfolio, really helps me talk about it, and is going to help me talk about it. And and yeah, and then some other things like the color palettes, they're defined now. I don't have to guess. I'm gonna do this, and it helps. So it's a process of discovery. You're always discovering, and I did some learning while I was teaching with you. So thank you.